Nexus magazine published an interview with a whistleblower in 2011. He claimed to work as a propagandist for the government, seeding internet forums and online spaces with real and fake information to gauge public reaction or to get the public to do something. He says back in 1994, scientists made communication via a computer-aided device with an entity in another dimension. They talked to it until about 1999 when they had to update their computer systems for Y2K, just like everyone was doing back then, and then they lost contact. The magazine published some of the alleged direct messages sent by this being. But what the propagandist was tasked to do was publish some of the entity's information in an online forum, pretending to be the entity, mixing some of its information with other government-sanctioned information. Talk about a psychological operation. He crafted a fake online persona, establishing credibility as a political insider, and dropped spiritual truths as well. But nobody's ever really read these forum drops and talked about them before. So today on Metaphysical, we'll be reading the messages from back in 2008, reacting to them, and discussing the remote viewing data John's team collected. It's going to be a good one. Join John Vivanco and me, investigative researcher Rob Counts, for a metaphysical show that's out of this world.
Are you listening to the Metaphysical Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or anywhere else? That 5-star rating and review, it really helps us reach more people, and we truly appreciate it. Remember, you got to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you're watching this.
John, how you doing?
Doing great. I really am digging the Chani Project. It's weirdness extreme.
It is. It's the stuff the Metaphysical channel is really made of, isn't it?
Right, because it's bridging that. It's bridging that gap right there. It's not like a cryptid or, something like that. This is just as more in the metaphysical realm.
It is. And this idea of some type of spatial communication, some interdimensional communication with a being is, it gives those Ashtar vibes in a way, but like there's more of it. There's just more of it. And it feels like when you're reading or experiencing the entire thing, it just feels like, straight off of a awesome radio show from the 80s or 90s,
Yeah, I know.
It's really cool, really cool. As you guys know anything about Ashtar, the entire situation with Ashtar was that I think it was back in the 70s or something, and don't quote me on that, but basically there was a transmission that came in Britain from an outside entity claiming to be this entity or being called Ashtar, and it gave a lot of information in this transmission. It was like a few minutes or something, and it was really, really interesting. And it's, if there are alien beings, of course that could have been a psychological operation, but if there are alien beings, you'd expect them to do something like that, to try to make contact and to probably warn human beings about some of the knucklehead things that they're doing, et cetera, right? Which a lot of the Chani Project really was. There was a lot of information that we're going to go through today. Yeah, we're including Lindsay today here. Lindsay is like our Jamie. So if you've ever watched the Joe Rogan podcast, Jamie in the background is constantly doing a lot of legwork for Joe Rogan. We have Lindsay, and she's pretty awesome. Probably smarter. No offense, Jamie.
Okay, thanks.
So as we read through these forum drops for everyone at home, what you have to understand is it almost appears like the entity in which they were communicating, English obviously isn't its first language. So it's broken English. But what's really strange is that the English sometimes, because it's broken and maybe even more simple, it tends to get to the point in a really interesting way, almost better than English could if you knew it well. So when you're listening to it, it may sound a bit primitive or something like that, but hang in there and listen to the drops. And then also I want you to think about the date in which these are publishing, because these are getting published in this forum in 2008, right? And so some of the names that we're hearing haven't really even come onto the scene yet, which is really fascinating. So without further ado, let's listen to the drops. And I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up on what there is to expect so that you understand when you're kind of translating them in your head. All right, let's do it.
Below is the opening post on the Me Tell You Now thread. After reviewing more than 100 predictions, I decided on this collection to start the thread. Many things go wrong 15 May because door opens with portal to dark matters, not understanding Earth beings. Sharon will demise before 15 May. Mandela will demise before 15 May. Thatcher will stroke before 15 May. Japan warring thing will commencing before 15 May secretly. Oil gets very big sickness, no use anymore after 15 May. Old Bush will be very sick before 15 May. Chani will demise before 15 June. Obama accident before 27 April. Big sickness before 15 May. Very moving earth on 17 Aprils. Ocean not sleeping when heaven things beware, many waters to come drown. Brown cheat before 15 May. Putin missing after 15 May. Many worry people do crazy things.
So John, after she read that first drop, what was your reaction to that? Because that was a really interesting drop. Lots of names being mentioned, political figures and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what happened to any of those individuals in the ascribed time frame, because I never really. Also, the other side of this is that it's whoever is posting that is pretending to be the entity, right? In a sense, what they're doing is they're like just taking on the persona of it and then posting it, because the entity is not posting on godlike productions, right? Let's just get that clear.
Right.
Which is, it's just kind of funny that they decided to go about it that way. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but that is another aspect of having a way out of it, to say it's not real, right? Basically, somebody's pretending. But now, as far as the dates and the people with remote viewing, I don't know what the proof is surrounding that, because I haven't researched that side of it. Because with remote viewing, in general, I don't care about dates. Dates are always a thing that are going to be hit or miss, always, when they're future stuff. So I don't really pay much attention to that. What I do is go to the remote viewing side, the remote viewing data on what it is ultimately, like the original thing that happened, and verify it that way. The rest of the stuff I don't care about, because I know there's a psychological operation running.
Yeah. Okay. And that's really important what you just brought up, because the forum. So what this person, this propagandist guy, is doing is, my understanding is he's taking the tone, because if you read the Nexus article, the 2000, I think it was 2011 or something, that the Nexus article, he's saying that when this entity was communicating with them, it was very much in this style of response. And so some of these forum drops, or maybe even all of them, he's claiming to be the original drops that they got.
Right.
But we don't know where that ends and him talking like that begins, because he responds in the forum like he's this entity to other people that are talking to him. And I mean, and you can imagine, like, if this was something that was on Instagram or X right now and it was happening live, there'd be all these haters on there, like doubting it, making fun of him, them, all of that. And that was happening on Godlike Productions.
Yeah.
That was happening in the forum. There were all of these people, and then he would respond to them.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, no, we friends, blah, blah, blah. Here's why you listen to me, whatever. Right. But what really blew me away about that forum drop is that this is 2008, mind you, right? Now, some of these political players are around or are in the news cycle. Nelson Mandela, Margaret Thatcher. Some of these people are in the news cycle. Obama really wasn't. Not really. Like, okay, Obama did become president in 2008, right? But these forum drops are from previous to that, because they came in between 1994 and 1999. And Obama was a senator. Yes, he was a senator. But you really didn't hear about him too much. Not really until he started running for president and stuff. So one of two things is going on here. Either the entity knew Obama was going to be an important figure in the future, or Obama already was becoming an important person, and he wanted to kind of fool people into thinking that he knew what was going on, and et cetera, right?
Yeah. Right. But here's the thing. It's like, how can you even be sure that what they are perceiving, what the entity and what he claims their world is perceiving, is the same timeline that he's interacting with? You can't assume that.
No, and now you're getting into the creepy weird side of this whole thing,
Yeah.
which is, is this coming in from a different timeline, or if this is real, right? Is this what are we talking about here?
Right.
Are we talking about an entity that has access to the future and or a different timeline where this stuff is taking place, and or all of the timelines are merging around this time anyway,
Right.
which is
Exactly.
what I think that the entire thing is claiming. Oh, like the entire Channing Project is claiming that the reason why it's making contact is because it can seize the human race. It can see the human race moving towards this nexus or this connection, and it's getting ahead of the timelines merging, and it's trying to make communication of some sort.
Right.
It's really, really interesting. So Obama being in there just really struck me, I think.
Yeah.
And and I have to say, the other super mind-blowing thing about this post is Nelson Mandela being mentioned in here, when all of the timelines merging is the best theory we have on why the Mandela effect is a thing.
Yeah, I know that, and that's an interesting thing. Yeah, that's what struck me as well. It's like, the fabric of reality changing, and what it's talking about, the fabric of our reality changing. It's also giving predictions, but that fabric of reality changing with another one merging into us is a very, very interesting concept that lines up with the Mandela effect. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's super exciting. That's
Yeah.
like really,
Right.
really getting into high strangeness when you start
Right.
thinking
Right.
about all of that.
Right.
If this is real, right? Which we'll be getting to a little bit later, or John's reaction to this with his remote viewing data. And if you watch the previous episode, you know that John's remote viewing data did in fact confirm this to be a real entity that may not be exactly how the forum propagandist guy explained, but was absolutely a legit. This is a legit event.
Right.
It's crazy, super exciting. All right, let's read the next drop.
So this is what he's claiming is one of the first statements made by the entity, and it was repeated at various times. You ask me many question, me first answer you by explain. To understand you and you in the universe, you must understand these things. First you must understand the illusion of infinity, then you must understand the infinity of illusion. This mean nothing, but explain everythings. So first you learn the you, then you learn the universe. Then this explain all and mean something.
You could read that like 10 times and still get something out of it. First, you must understand the illusion of infinity. Then you must understand the infinity of illusion. This means nothing, but it explains everything. So first, you learn the you, then you learn the universe. So first you learn yourselves, and then you learn the universe. This explains and means something. That's really interesting. Like the illusion of infinity and the infinity of illusion. Like everything is illusory, in other words. And my understanding, that means that everything is happening right now and then and in the future all at the same time.
Yeah,
That somehow is my take home.
it's the whole it's the whole contradiction, quantum world contradictory information that breaks the monkey brain. Black is white, white is black, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. It's this notion of, seems to be going down the path of quantum realm and true reality, what true reality is, as opposed to separating things. And you can't understand one of those things without understanding the other, and then realizing those two are one and the same. But that's something outside of the monkey brain. So the subject seems to be demonstrating some pretty deep understanding, some deep knowledge. But who knows if that's deep knowledge from the individual, or that's deep knowledge because that's what the individual's been taught in their from wherever they are, But that's also like those are all also like statements that would come from a higher dimensional type being, which our data was going towards more like a higher dimensional type being. Because when you get into the realm of people who channeling, not that I like channeling or anything like that, but oftentimes you'll hear them speak like that, right? In these sort of things that are contradictory. So, I mean, if it follows the channeling principle, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Okay, let's go to the next one. Let's keep moving.
Me post probabilities, okay? Me see crash plane on deck of U.S. warship 55 demise. Me see U.S. bomber crash sea. Me see many dolphin and whale go suicide. Me see 250 plus more demise accident and crash of plane. Europe people. Me see very moving earth again, some people of same shape eye, Japan. Me see sickness, go people of India and people of Korea. Me see very oil sickness, people of America grow bigger, not afford by oil anymores. Me see America people very angry, go damage monument, their capital, okay? Me see very big and final earth war this line time, but you can stop still. Please forget oil, your oil become enemy after September, your line time. Oil get radiation, as me tell you before, why you not believe me cry for you.
This is interesting because it sounds like it's warning about, what's weird is oil sickness keeps being mentioned, and I can't help but think about, during the gold rush, there were a lot of people getting sickness from gold. It was gold fever. They called it gold fever, which was this like strange madness that people had and going to try to make riches off of potential gold they could find in the West. But then at first I thought he was talking about something like that, this like oil sickness, this like sickness revolved around the fortunes that can be made from oil, because that was the biggest money making thing back then. You could be a tycoon in a day just by striking oil, right? Beverly Hillbilly style. But then he's talking about oil get radiation sickness, and that there's some type, because he goes from economy to talking about the economy, Americans not having enough money to buy oil anymore, and then there being radiation in the oil itself.
Now, is this all stuff? Okay, so is this all stuff before 15 May, or is this going beyond it now?
It's hard to tell. Did it mention
Because
that
I mean, what
here?
we're looking at, okay, monuments are being attacked. You remember, I mean, just, broad generally, when people just started attacking every single monument and trying to tear them down, anything that had to do with whom they thought was a slave owner or
But that
just
seems
somebody
to
from
be, yeah,
history, right?
that
And
seems to
that
be more
happened when,
recent.
like pretty recently. So
More recently, yeah.
that was like way after that was known. So are we still talking 15 May here? Before that, or are we talking just generally into the future?
I don't.
Because we also have the big war that he talks about as well, which World War III, I assume something like that,
Which we could avoid, apparently.
which
He
we
was
could
saying,
avoid, right.
and maybe we have.
When I know that over on Godlike Productions, people have been tracking all of these things and putting down the possibilities of what they could be in between this is all BS posts. But yeah, anyway, I'm just curious, 15 May or after? This seems like it's after, way after.
Well, and he's describing also a probability. Remember, it started with
Probability.
probability.
Yeah, that's right. This is all
And so,
probabilities.
right. And so these things could have been all supposed to happen around one time, or things changed and they got spread out over a longer period of time.
Right.
And so what we're seeing is some things happen in the 2000s, some things happen in the 2010s, maybe, and
Right.
then even later.
Right.
Or we avoided them completely, because probably if the human race was supposed to have a World War III that would blow everything up, and it never happened through whatever, the grace of God.
Right.
Or
Well, it's like this is typical of like remote viewing data, for instance. When you look at, I mean, I've looked at how time is versus events with remote viewing. And it's like the data on that kind of stuff is like this. It's like there's a stream of events that's coming from something. It's just energy in motion, right? It's all just energy in motion. And in the quantum realm, all of these vents, and they're undulating, they're crossing each other, this and that. And you're right here on that undulation, and you want to know something down here on that undulation, right? It's even after you collapse and move into a singularity. It's like the double slit experiment where you can get that single most probable outcome. The problem is that these things keep moving through time, and there's more and different impacts that are unknowable that happen on these energetic strings. So I just never ever ever believe future event predictions. Ever.
I don't either.
Ever.
Even people who predict one thing right, they'll predict one thing right, and then they get 100 other things wrong, and they're
Right.
like patting themselves on the back for this one thing, and it's like,
Right.
it's not that it's lucky. I'm not saying that. It's just that there's a infinite number of probability
Yeah.
with any prediction that
Oh,
could
yeah.
come or go. It could change any time. Future is it's impossible to predict, I think.
Yeah. Because when you look at it's a wave, and it's a wave. It's like the double slit experiment. It's a wave and a particle at the same time, right? It's solid and it's not at the same time. And in order to know the future, you have to collapse the wave function. And by collapsing the wave function, it moves it to one point. That's it. But the wave still exists as well. And the wave still undulates and moves. So yeah, you can grab that, write that down, say it's going to happen, and it doesn't happen because other impacts hit it and it's still moving, even, because you've got a time frame in between when you saw it and when it happens.
You know what I think is interesting about this too is when we think of the human world is like, it is the Matrix. People think that the Matrix has to be this digital synthetic thing. But if you look at all of the ancient books, they called this the world of delusion. You're like trying to find your way through a maze. They call it a maze. If someone could accurately predict every single thing that happened in the human world, it would completely blow the illusion out.
Right.
People would be looking at that person like a god, and then all the illusion would be gone. People would not be able to make their own decisions in any of the things that are happening, and it would no longer be a human world. It just wouldn't.
Right.
So even if there is someone out there who has the ability to predict every single thing that would happen, that person would know they can't do that because they would be breaking the biggest rule in the human world, which is
it would destroy this reality.
gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah.
All right, maybe shall we move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Right language cause bad things for your human history, hold you back. Better draw pictures like Sumer. Better write image like Egyptian. Right language tell you what to think, not how to think, not good thing for mind. Picture tell you how to think, must use mind to read picture, good thing for mind. Picture you remember forever, right language you forget soon, not think anymore.
The dawning of memes.
No, that's true. I didn't even think of it from that perspective, actually. That's really interesting.
This is memetics, talking about memetics there.
But even more than that, we always think of the ancient people chiseling out images into granite as being primitive and kind of ridiculous when it could be a much higher form of communication, dude.
Yeah.
It could be like a way higher form of communication that we don't understand because we're not advanced enough, and we're constantly looking at them like they're primitive. That alone, if you look at that in the context of history, because our science tells us much different now, right? Our science tells us that kind of thing is not good. We should be writing and recording things. We should have all of this stuff written down. But then, I mean, just think of the Native Americans verbally transmitting their culture through the centuries. And when you listen to it sometimes coming from different people, there's a weird energy in there that you can feel it all being like it's like a line from the past, and you can
Yeah.
feel the entire timeline somehow. It's really interesting, right?
Well, it's like I mean, also in images, it's cross cultural. It's
Yeah, you don't need to know the language.
you don't need to know the language, yeah. Which they're yeah. So yeah, I know I tend to agree with that. I tend to agree with that
Also,
statement.
another really interesting thing when you think of he's talking about the ancient Sumerian, the Sumer, Assyrian, whatever you want to call it, but
Sumerian, yeah, sure.
they're a lot of their written recorded things are on these little scrolls that you turn, and you read them, and then you go back to the start and you read it again. So yeah, I think that that's also interesting, is that they were looking at, I mean, of course there are some tablets where ancient Sumerian is written, but maybe the scroll was a part of this entire idea, that it's almost like the previous post where he was talking about, to understand what did he say, the infinite is an illusion and the illusion is infinite.
Yeah.
Sort of. That's pretty interesting. Oh, we have a couple of more lines from this post, don't we? Let's go ahead and read the rest of that.
The reason Sumeria write in picture is they want last generation you to understand 2,000 years later, okay? If they write data on disk, you not able deciphering's disk, for you not have same reading device to read their data 2,000 year later. Sumeria write on stone to survive all your technology, okay? And allow you to still understand 2,000 years later. Simple, okay?
So why were they writing to us 2,000 years ago? What is so important that they wanted to send messages to us in the future?
That would have been, at least in part, the cataclysm and the ones that receded. Really, that's what it would have been about. I mean, not completely, but and it makes. I mean, it's simple. It makes perfect sense, right? Obviously, there's a lot of people that argue those points, but uh, I mean, we've remote viewed some of the stuff, so we know, what the writings are truly on some of them. And a lot of it had to do with the cedars that were here in that time frame.
Well, and
And
and and a lot of those images are of them holding a seed bag, some type of
right,
bag
right,
that has seeds, and then the other thing we always see is that pine cone. I mean, if you and I never found that recorded event from the Chinese emperor, what was his name again? Qin Shi Huang, where he recorded meeting these beings, and that this thing that they were holding was their form of energy.
right, right,
This pine cone was a form of energy that could light up. They said like a river for like a mile or something, and that it could stay lit for a really long time. And
right,
so we are always trying to speculate what this thing is. But if we didn't have that recording from Qin Shi Huang, you and I never would have figured out what that thing was. We would have just been
right,
looking at it and confused like everyone else. They also have a watch that they're constantly wearing, some type of watch,
right.
wrist. We don't know if that's time or whatever. It has a flower on it. Usually it's
Yeah,
circular. It has a flower. And then
yeah,
that seed bag we're constantly seeing.
yeah. Right, right. And the seed bag was genetic bag of genetic information is what it was
How
in
would we have
remote view.
figured that out?
Is in remote viewing data, so
Sure.
yeah. So I don't know how other people would figure that out.
Right.
So there are, I mean, obviously, like, yeah, the pictures, he's saying the pictures are something that the future generations can read, but there has to be somewhat of a translation key
Has to be.
that's not necessarily, I've never seen one. So there is something missing there ultimately. For general, like, information across the board, there is, unless there is some type of key somewhere that's been buried, hidden, whatever, or it's not been found. I don't know.
What I heard and what I've seen, I think different people say. I think it was who's the sleeping channeler guy?
Casey.
Casey. Casey. and then Dorothy Eady, who was the woman who lived in Egypt. She's a Westerner. She lived in Egypt for a while. She had a past life where she was reincarnated from Egypt. She claimed that back then, when you looked at the hieroglyphics, you could see them moving, and that the moving images would tell a story. Like remember, we were always talking about how their technology had something to do with spirituality as well, that the
Right.
spirituality and the technology were one thing and they were developing together. What if people's third eyes were more open back then, their celestial eyes were more open back then, and that they actually saw these images moving and telling them a story, and that was how the communication happened, and we no longer have that gift somehow.
Well, I mean, okay, so if you look at Vedic texts, talking about more on the Indian side, there is the notion, the idea of the yugas, right? And you've got 4 different yugas, and their ages that last. I think it's either 12,000 or 24,000 years. I think it's 12,000 ish years,
Yeah.
and they go from a golden type age into the darkest age, and every age people lose an aspect of spirituality in the story of the ages of the yugas. They lose an aspect. They lose connection to God. They lose connection to source. They stop meditating. They stop doing spiritual practices. They begin to get more entranced with the illusion, with the material world. They begin to just move into darkness and not being able to see, until everything that is black is now white, and everything that's black is white, and all your leaders are liars. And that's the Kali Yuga, the age that we live in. So what you're talking
The
about,
Dharma ending period.
exactly, the Dharma ending period, what you're talking about would be from a previous age where there was more spiritual connection. So the third eye would definitely be open. It's much harder in the Kali Yuga to open that spiritual eye. You have to try harder at it. It becomes harder and harder throughout the ages to sustain such a strong connection to source. A lot easier in the previous ages. So yeah, I mean, it would make perfect sense to me, at least, because I really believe in the notion of the yugas, because we've seen a lot of it with remote viewing. And
Right.
it's not just limited to the Indian or Hindu side or Brahman side. It's across every culture.
Yeah.
There are about 30 different cultures that talk about the 4 ages, and they all last the same amount of time. And in between each age, there's a cataclysm. And there is that, the Greeks even spoke about it, right? Where there is a moving away from God, from source, from spirituality, and then going into the darkest period and then moving back. And this all has to do with this cyclical energy pattern that flows throughout the whole universe.
I really
And
feel like the human race has to stop criticizing past cultures the
yes,
way that they do.
right.
Like we
They're
criticize
not as
them
good as
through
us, right?
right. They criticize them through the lens of what's gone on over the last 2,500 years, let's say. And if we're to learn more about our history and what's really going on, we have to put all of those notions down and try to look at these things holistically. These were not stupid people. These were
Right,
not impaired people. They're the same brilliance that exists in human beings now existed then, and maybe even greater if we're to understand what they were trying to tell us.
right,
Why use granite? Why use stone? Metal rusts, obviously. Anything metal is going to rust after a couple thousand years. Why lay all of that groundwork down to try to communicate with future beings
right.
here, unless there was an enormous amount of wisdom in the things that they were doing, something timeless?
Yeah, and it's just part of a mind control structure as well, in order to pull people into things that they
Materialism.
don't want them to know about from the past and whatnot. So yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
They didn't know anything back then. We know everything now. So
Okay, let's go ahead and get the next drop here.
Me ask elders about explain free will better. Elders say me explain like this. God give you egg. Egg is there. Egg already created. Egg exist. You use free will decide what do about egg. You can make choice boil egg, eat egg. You can make choice bake egg, eat egg. You can make choice you leave egg, but egg get rotten, but egg still there. You can make choice you not eat other animals, so you throw egg away, egg get rotten somewhere else, but egg still exist. You will smell egg eventually. Eventually you must decide and deal with egg. Time collide is like egg. God make time collide. Time collide is there, time collide already created, time collide exists. Eventually you must decide what you want do with time collide and deal with it. You cannot change what God created, but with free will you must decide what you do with time collide, okay? Me say eat egg because egg good for you, before get rotten, then egg very bad for you.
Oh my gosh, there's so much in that one. That's a
I don't
really
know. What do you
interesting.
think?
It's a really interesting take on free will. I mean, think about it, right? Because the creation is all around us. You could argue creation is perfect because free will was already designed into the equation of what was created. You know, um, there's a weird saying in ancient China about if that the men who worked the land, the humans that worked the land, they say, and this was not meant to be blasphemous, but that they were able to perfect God's creation through working on the land. Meaning God created the seeds and all of the things and the earth and the soil, but it was man who could take that and perfect it in a way that could be used for humankind and made beautiful and great. Like that was, if you think about that for a second, that was actually built into creation already. So the things that are around us, we have to decide what to do with, and that is a whole part of free will, whether we stay or are destroyed. We decide. That's what I get out of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's that's what he was saying, basically. I don't know what you can actually decide to do with a time collide. I
Well, but
mean,
I think that scientists and a lot of people are aware that that's happening. There are
so it would be from the science side, most likely,
well,
right?
there's a lot of people in the know. I mean, call it science, call it whatever
Yeah,
you
there are
want,
a lot of people now, right?
because we our intelligence and our advanced parts of our intelligence and our governments actually are aware of a lot of things that are going on that they don't
Right,
tell everyone.
right,
And that's also a part of the free will is, are we going to tell everyone or not?
right, right.
Right. And the fact that that's been kept from a lot of people, I think, is the reason why these forums existed. It was,
Hmm.
hey, how do we get some of this information out in a way that isn't going to uh, create chaos in human society, but still gets the information out where we can see how humans and what humans do with
Yeah,
it?
I think. I mean, to me, I mean, what he stated is just it seems very pedestrian and uh, yeah, I know. I understand free will, right? I mean, just seems pedestrian to me. I guess that's just sort of pandering to the lowest common denominator that doesn't understand free will or what free will is. I mean, I understand that within what you want to call creation, these things are here, and we have free will to interact with them as we please, as well as each other, right? So,
Yes.
I mean, if he started to go down a path on talking about things that like, does an egg have free will? No, an egg doesn't have free will. He's talking about objects. But if he started going into things that had free will but used it in very specific ways or different ways than the way we would use it, or in more subtle ways, I think that would have been more interesting to me because I'm looking for something to go a little bit deeper, which to me it just seems
True.
it's pretty basic stuff.
But don't you think that this is a huge warning? This is a big warning. I think this, more than anything, this post was a warning for humankind to deal with the timelines merging rather than avoid it and it get rotten and then not be able to
But
do
the thing
anything
is
about it.
that right. So the warning wouldn't be to us. The warning would be to the ones holding the secret of it.
Agreed.
Right. So
Agreed.
to me, if I'm just the average person reading that, I just go, okay, yeah, I know what free will is. I've got nothing to do with timelines merging at all, but somebody else does. I mean, like what we've seen is the absolute hubris that some scientists have because they know they can do something and they just do it, and you've got another timeline collision that occurred that creates irreparable damage between dimensions, right? So they have the free will to do that or not, but they're not taking into account the effect that it has on our reality at all. And most people would never be aware of it. Never, ever, ever be aware of it. Now, if you had the government come out or some military official come out and say, we've merged a bunch of dimensions. Things are getting really bizarre here. You're not even going to know that the dimensions are merged because once that, once that dimension is embedded within ours, it just has always been in ours in your mind. So sorry about all that. Sorry for the new cryptid. Sorry for, you know what I'm saying? It's like
Yes, I do. Yeah.
nobody would know the difference. Now, when you get to the Mandela effect and you see the little changes that are absurd, like, is there an R in turmeric or is there no R in turmeric? Right? It's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, but I think though that this being, whoever this being is, decided to come in. I mean, obviously, they're not stupid.
Right.
I think they know who they're talking to, and they know the minds of the people that they're talking to, where their technology is at, and the fact that they aren't communicating these things, but they're making a lot of decisions on behalf of humankind. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
is it a karmic relationship thing that these people are the ones making decisions on behalf of humankind? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he seems to be targeting the minds of those people to try to urge them to make the right decisions within the situation that they're aware of.
Right. Right. But I mean, I don't know what they could do about it. It's because they're not going to not merge dimensions if they have the opportunity. I mean, would you
Well, I
be
think
like,
that
hey Rob, listen, I've got this device that I've made here, and it can literally merge dimensions. We can go check out this other dimension, and it might be kind of interesting and cool. You're gonna go, yeah, man, let's go check out that other dimension. That would be very cool. But in the process, it merges it to the point where it just the fabric of ours and that becomes one and the same thing, right? Like these guys are sitting around going, that would be really cool. Let's go check it out. Nothing you can do about it. They've got the tech. We've got nothing to say, and they're not
but
going to
we're
tell us.
but we're missing I'm getting the sense that we're missing an enormous amount of information. He's asking us to read between the lines, but between the lines, there's a bunch of information for us at home missing that they may have access to. Okay, for
Yeah, no,
instance, in
I
some of the
understand. I understand that
yeah,
aspect
in
for
some of the
sure.
later posts too, he was talking about like dark matter and portal
Right.
matter that the scientists were playing with that could have been
Right.
affecting things. And not only that, but he is in specifically in that post, he's saying God created the situation for these timelines to merge. You can either decide what to do with that or not. But if you know what I'm saying, so you've got this situation where humans are experimenting with and doing wonky things with technology, and the fact that God created a situation where these timelines are merging. Perhaps they're trying to change the timelines from merging and trying to avoid that, but that's actually God's design. And he's saying, hey, why are you trying to change this or do weird wacky things when that's already God's design? That's the natural way, you know. Of course, this is all speculation, but it's fun
Yeah.
to talk
Right.
about.
Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I got nothing else. I got nothing else on it. Like,
And we never will. Well, this may be the first episode of its kind to actually read through the craziest forum posts where a government official allegedly leaked information from an entity from another dimension. But if you'll believe it, the posts get even crazier from here. In the next episode, we'll read why they say dolphins are on Earth, information about our moon, alien life and dragons, and more, plus our own conversation around it that you'll have to see to believe. If you're looking for a way to support our work and keep Metaphysical going, consider subscribing to the Metaphysical.tv, where we have over 1,000 videos on mysteries, ancient civilizations, remote viewing, and so much more. Our exclusive bonus content for this topic includes some more controversial forum posts about mind, body, spirit, and the Trinity, as well as accessing other dimensions and soul elevation. You're not going to want to miss that. Your subscription to the Metaphysical.tv means that we can keep uncovering the mysteries of the universe that honestly most people won't or can't talk about the way we will. So we really appreciate your support. And I want to give a big shout out to all the Metaphysical supporters, mystery junkies, and super fans over there right now. If you haven't watched our first 2 episodes on the Chani Project, definitely go check that out and stay tuned for the next part in this series next week. And with that, we hope you thought this episode was out of this world.